Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well. Today we're back on MO2 with another tutorial. We are getting into more advanced combat technique. So first of all, I'm playing with directional keys for attacking and pairing with my mouse with drag and drop, I mean click and drag. So as I'm using this technique, I would need to get my mouse pretty free to bait and things, so I would highly recommend using a key that is pretty much on your mouse to feint. That's gonna be way more useful because you also, like, even if you don't use the directional keys, you're gonna have to handle your direction hits and the direction you move into, obviously. So I think it's gonna be a bit too hard if you're using directional keys plus directional parries and probably another key on your keyboard to feint. So I would recommend more putting it on your mouse, but I guess it's up to you. I played a lot with a feinting key on my keyboard, and as soon as I swapped it on my mouse, it took me a little bit of time to get used to it, but I've really got better with pairing. Like it went way more natural to feint. So that's the key of the entire training, to feint properly. So I'm gonna give you a lot of tips with swords and spears, which are pretty much the only weapons I master. I'm not too good at swords, but I know the tricks I need to practice and the moves I need to practice to get decent. So I guess I'm gonna give it all to you today. So we're getting started with the spear. Spear, it's my main at the moment. I might swap to sword really soon, but anyway. With the spear, the most basic thing would be to look at your opponent, and when you're swinging, you start looking up and a bit on the left. Something like 30, yeah, maybe like 40-degree upper left, something like that, when you're charging your stab. So something like this, and then you release there and end it up on your target. He will probably not see the hit coming. Like, most of the people that are not used to it will already get fucked because of this simple move. So then you can combo. What I usually do is look at the left, start a right swing, right? So I right swing here, I hit, and then I go up. Like, the right swing is only to bait, and most of the people don't even see it coming if they are not too used to animations once again. So, like, you start charging here. I mean, you don't even charge, you just click, come back onto him, and when you hit, you start comboing, looking at the sky and coming back on the guy. So you use the same tricks than the first one, but you bait it a bit. You might also do it with a left swing, something more fancy like this, goes into up, and you come back here. So, like, first of all, if you're using a spear, left swings are really not common. So it's gonna disturb the guy a bit, and then if you look at the sky and come back on the guy, you're gonna probably get a double hit. You may have time to charge a bit though, to deal some damage with the left swing. Like 31, and then I go for 60, so it's only a flagstone spear, it's a pretty fast one, but I'm a villa, so I need light weapons. So I would always keep it light anyway. So it's a bit fast, but it is really useful things too. What is usually working too is overheads, because people are not used to overheads either with the spears. So what I usually do is, like, look at the ground on 90-degree right, start an overhead here console. I missed, sorry. So overhead console into poke, and then I start looking there and end up with the poke again. Something like that. You might also do it while turning around though. So that's upper console into right, this, then you got this, and if you manage to put it all into the same fight, that's gonna be fucking destructive. So those are pretty much the basic moves, I would say. Sometimes you're gonna have to console multiple times. So you show the right swing of the guy, he will probably start parrying right. If he does parry you at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because he's gonna burn twice stamps. So you show him right swing, then you console, go into poke, look at the sky just like we're always doing it, and then you land it into the heads of the target. You always have to aim with spears. So I would say it's a pretty much withdraw. I mean, it's a pretty big withdraw, but there's also another dimension where people always 50-50 with spears, because it always ends up being right swing. or pokes. So most of the people, even though they are noobs, they're gonna always middle parry, and it's gonna be hard to deal damage just because of the simple fact that you have to poke at the end of the day to deal damage. So kinda sucks, but it's a reality of the spears. That's why I'm thinking about swapping to fucking swords again. So we're gonna swap to swords now. There's a lot of moves to practice anyway. So one other thing you can do with the spears, the last one I would say, is always turning at the opposite of your... I mean, at the same direction than your swings. So you swing right, you turn right, then you end up here. This is a pretty basic tips, to be honest, that is working with any weapons. So you always turn at the direction, right? But to bait more, you can start left, turn right, cancel it here, stab, and come back. This is getting way more destructive, but the most thing that is gonna fuck up people most of the time will be left swing, cancel, and then right swing. Something like this. But you always have to release here to land it into your target, to make it really confusing with the turn. I would also recommend have pretty high sensitivity, or at least doing some fast movements to always break more and more and more the animations. So those are pretty much all the tricks about spears. So yeah, the last one, kinda hard to handle, will be left swing, turn right, cancel, go into right, and then you release it here and land it on the target. I'm kinda struggling to do it right now, so it's a pretty fancy move. It will probably get you a couple hits, and then you can start comboing once again, like you hit here and you go back there and you go back there, and then you go back here again. Things like this, and then you cancel and you come back. Pretty much always kinda doing the same things, I guess, but that's how you end up being decent at fighting. Don't forget that with light weapons, you can also combo on people parries. There's a specific timing to respect depending on your weapons, but like, let's say the dummy is parrying everything, right? So I hit him with right, he parries right. But if I got the right timing, I'm able to combo on his parry, because I got no penalty for getting parried. So he parries me, and then I can start comboing easy into parry, right? So he's gonna start charging his attack, or gonna start swinging his sword too. If he's doing any kind of bait, I'm gonna have a free hit when he's baiting. So right swing, he parries. If I got the right fucking timing, I can combo instantly, no matter if he parried, and I get a hit when he starts fucking baiting, and then I gotta get ready to parry instantly. So you can kinda trade in between hits if you keep comboing. So it's a pretty important thing to respect too with spears, I guess. You can also do it with swords. So now we're swapping to swords. We're gonna start seeing kinda tricky moves we can do with swords. So just like the overheads are pretty much always having the same baits, to be honest. So no matter if it's a spear, sword, axes, or even mole, you will always overhead this way at the end. Like, you look 90-degree right, you look at your foot, start charging up here, and then you release by doing some kind of circle movement up, and then come back on the target. I'm not too used to swords, like I said, but like, that's one of the basic movements of the swords. Then you got the other thing that is always true for anything. You always turn at the same direction you're swinging at. And with the right swing, I would also say you might need to look at the sky with swords, spears, to swords and axes and shit. Something like you put a bit of distance with the guy, so you start right swinging and then look at the sky and come back onto the guy. Something like this. Kinda, you know, the same movement than the spear when you look like up left. Kinda the same thing, but when you release the right swing, something like this. And then there's another thing where with swords you can hit really far from the guy, because you got the radius that will make you able to hit. So like, even though you release here, you're still gonna deal damage. So that's for people that are running into you. If they are too close and they're running into you, you're always gonna have fucking arm hit, right? Always harm, and if they keep it full contact, you might never be able to deal fucking damage. That's why most of the people use Rizar heals and Curite heals. Even though it's low Jura, you really need those to deal damage. So if someone gets close to you, you will have to look at your feet. That's one of the things that kinda bothers me with swords, like, you're never looking at your target. The guy is too close, look at your foot, you're gonna hit him decently. I have no stats into swords, by the way. That's why I hit for so low. So like, you always look at your foot and you're always gonna get a hit at the end of the day. Even though it's overhead, it's a stab too. So like, you're never gonna look at your target with a sword. You see? We can always full damage no matter how close the guy is. Even in like full contact, I can hit. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You will probably need to never look at your target to land hits. So another trick would be with the stab. You will always look at the sky, and when you release it here, you will try to land it on your target. Like I said, I'm not really good with swords, but I know the tricks I need to practice. Always doing some things like this. So like, right swing, console into stab, and then you release it on the guy. Things like this. So you show him a right swing, you console, you look at the sky, and then you land it. And I hit with the harm. Great. Like I said, I need to practice a lot. So, as usual, you're gonna always try to hide your harms. So you're gonna right swing, console here, and then turn back and come back on the guy. So you might need to do something like this. That's why you need eye sensitivity too with swords. Because you're never looking at your target once again. So you always release back of him and then turn back, then turn. You might also look at your foot. But I would say it's more destructive with looking at the sky. Like, you start a right swing here, looking at the sky, the guy is in your back. And then you release and turn onto him. This is really destructive. But it's also really hard to land shit. You really need to, like, know where your target is. But the great thing is, you can, like, compared to the accuracy required with the fucking spears, this is really easy. Like, you can hit so far from the guy to actually hit him. And if he gets super close, you're not gonna get handle hits if you look at your foot too. So keep in mind, overhead, I mean, you look at the sky and then you land it with the stab to make it look like an overhead. And then the overhead, you will look 90 degrees on your right, look at your foot, and start doing some like circular movements to try to make it look like a fucking right swing. I cannot land shit with swords. It's gonna be a lot of practice. But that's how you make it look like a fucking right swing. And then with the right swing, I would say you look back of the guy, look at the sky, and fucking turn right when you try to land it. That's gonna be destructive too. And obviously, keep feinting, like, you show him the right, you console, you... Okay, I failed. You show him right, you console, you overhead, and you land it. Or you can do also, like, running like this, and then console, and try to come back onto him, but it's pretty hard to land shit, because like I said, you're never gonna look at your opponent while using swords. So you really need to release there and fucking turn at the last fucking frame. So it's all about timings, never looking at the guy, knowing where the guy is even though you're not looking at him, which is pretty hard. But that's how you will land most of your hits. So those are more advanced things and tricks we're trying to practice. So just like the swords, you will left swing, turn right, start doing some things like this. Left swing console into right, and then land it here. Thing like that, and you're gonna swap fucking direction when you're back of your opponent, never in front of him like this. Will be more destructive, and you can also still combo. The combos are not only available on fucking spears, so you will need to combo a lot. I'm doing some tricky shit, to be honest. But you see, a lot of practice, and then you're gonna be doing decently. I need to practice more with the console and things like this. Go. And yep. The other thing is to hit the hits, because you will never look at your opponent with the swords. So it's making it really tricky. But that's all you need to practice to get way better with parrying and shit. And keep in mind that if you want to see how bad your animation is looking like, you might be able to start a stream on someone's Discord and look at yourself doing your tricks and shit. And with a bit of latency, you can exactly see how it looks like on the opponent screen. So that's helping a lot as well to practice your tricks and your directions you need to look at to destroy animations and things. So I hope this tutorial will be useful. Wish you guys a good practice. I'm gonna practice a lot too, because I'm gonna try to really swap to swords, because they're way more damage and things. But I really hate the dimension where you're never looking at the enemy. I will need to increase sensitivity and things like this. But I think I'm gonna get there at the end of the day. Wish you guys a great... Guys, sorry. I wish you guys a great one. And I will see you into next stream, I guess. Don't forget to pop up on Twitch. I would put the link into the description. And hope you guys are gonna have some good fights, good practice, and hope you're gonna get better with this tutorial if it can help. See you later.